Alright, let me explain the various parts of my board thickness jig. Get this out of the way first of all. The long blue channel that you can see that's bolted down there at a strong point and then goes up. It's not blue because it was made by the manufacturer. It's blue because the paint that I got from the store happens to be the same color. I think it's Ford blue. Anyway, what it is, actually it was I couldn't find a channel. I ended up taking a square stock and cutting the center out of it, but it's just better yet if you didn't have to do all that trouble, go to all that trouble. And just for information's sake, it's a 3-inch channel, and the depth of it goes in about 1 3/8 inches. So that's the column that I put my spacers on, so that I can build it. I'm just getting this set here again, so I can show you the next part. This part here, this is the actual sensor. I guess there's two parts I'd call a sensor, but this little box here, I made it by putting some batteries in there and installing a couple of LED lights that I took out of a dollar store flashlight. I put a switch on it, and essentially the way it works is I've got two sensors on the bottom, or two contacts I should say, made out of some copper nails left over from a boat building project about 30 years ago, and I put them in there so they're spring loaded, so when the head gets tightened up in this saw it'll give a little bit. And the other part to it, if I can just go back here and get it, this is the sensor plate. This is what makes the contact. So that's going to be in the channel, and when this gets down to it and that's on, it will light up the LEDs, as you can see there. Now, the way I made it was kind of complicated out of a bunch of pieces of wood. It could have been made much simpler if I did what somebody suggested to me after, which was make the switch out of something like a brake switch in a car, and just get used to the point where it actually comes on, and then make your system accordingly. So this goes up and down with the head of the saw. So that goes on there. I originally made it with magnets all over the place. Some rare earth magnets I had kicking around, thinking it would just pop in there and stay, but it's a little wiggly. So what I do is I just clamp it while I'm using it, but I don't leave it out because of the elements and the electrical parts of it. So I just clamp that on there, and as long as it stays in one place, I've got it made. Now, when I wind the head up and down, which in this saw, you have to loosen these brackets, these are ready to go. So when I wind this up and down, what happens is that this head is going to meet the spacers that I put in there. So I welded the little bottom in there. I just did a measurement to make sure I had that little bottom part there in the right place. And I made it so that there's about an inch dummy in the bottom. And the reason I put an inch dummy in there is because if the head gets adjusted sometime, I can just make a slightly thinner or a thicker one, and I don't have to move this thing around. So I'll show you the spacers that I've made. This is I guess I can't get it all on the screen at once, but basically there's two parts. There's the white ones at the bottom, which I made more or less for cant size. So they have all the way from 3 inches to 16 inches. And then after that, I have the spacers that I'll use either for boards or planks, depending on how thick it is, of course. So here, for example, there's a 2-inch. So this is a 2-inch spacer. And it's made so that it's actually 2 inches plus the thickness of a saw cut. So when the spacer comes down to it, and then I pull it out and go down the next, it'll go down 2 inches on a saw cut, and the piece will be 2 inches. Now all these spacers that I made, I mounted another magnet on the bottom so they wouldn't be vibrating out of the channel that I made. So I have a variety of sizes. I have 7/8, I have inch, and as I said, every one of them is, that's the size of the board or plank to make. So essentially, once you've got your cant made, and even using this even to make the cant, what you do is you just build up according to what you want. So in this case, if you wanted to get 3-inch boards out of a piece, what you do is, well, it turns out that the dummy one on the bottom is actually an inch as well. So it's just by coincidence. So I'd put an inch one in there, and then I'd put another inch one and another inch one, and they work, so they stick in there pretty well. So that's 2 of them, and this is the 3rd one. It's going to have to be up higher than that. And then you have your metal strip, and that metal strip is in there. So when I come down there, when I'm going down to get, and I'll show this in a log that I'm doing here in a few minutes. When this goes down, then the light comes on. Then that's the top of the cant. And then every time after that you pull one of these spacers out, you're going to get down that far in your next one, so you'll get an inch board, and so on until you get to the bottom. Anyway, I just wanted to show the overall contraption. Kind of looks like something from Wile E. Coyote cartoons, I know, but it seems to work. You're up against other things too. Sometimes if your log has internal strains and it warps and moves while you're cutting, there's nothing you can do about that. But if you have a stable log, it gets pretty exact in the spacings of the boards. So I'll stop that, and I'll show you. I'm doing a juniper log here, and I'll show you that in a minute. And there's a little breeze blowing. I'm not sure whether audio will be okay there or not. But this is the small end of the juniper stick, and my goal to get out of it is at least a couple of 10-inch planks. I'm rebuilding the deck, and I need some 10-inch. It's not big enough to do a 10-inch cant, so I'll take what I can off the side. But I made up these little plastic templates to give me an idea of what I can get out of a log. So if I center that on there and get my center more or less, that puts it about there. Oops, and 10 inches is up there somewhere. Need a little. I just cut it out of plexiglass, and I didn't know how to cut the holes in it without shattering it with a saw, so I used a mini grinder, burned them in, but I kind of made a mess of it. Could be a little thicker holes to get my marker through. Anyway, what I'll do now is I'll get the center of the other end, and I'll level this up with my jack, and then I'll take my first slab off to have the 10-inch dimension. Since I marked this for the top of the 10-inch, the important dimension here, even if I don't get the log leveled exactly, is the dimensions to that, which is 16 3/4. So I'll make a mark at 16 3/4 on the other end, and I'll cut that first slab off. Okay, the log has been turned 90 degrees, and I marked the other end from what I could get out of it, and then measured up and took the same measurement at this end. I know it looks like a lot of waste, but the tree's quite a bit bigger, and it's cut close to the butt the way the junipers are. And the good news is, juniper makes good firewood. Okay, I've turned the cant or log around now so that I'm going to cut the width of the planks that I'm cutting. I need 2x10s. So this point I'll select a 10-inch spacer. This is when I start using my spacer, so I'll use the one that's 10-inch and install it in the machine here. And on top of that, I have to put my little metal part so that now when I wind it down, it will stop at exactly the spot that's needed. So I don't really have to do any kind of measurement on the log now. It's on, wind it down. See when it starts to get close? Oh, there it is. So to do it again just to show, up there as it comes down, gets to the point where the two little contacts touch. There they are. So I can shut that off. I can lock up my... Now even though the head will move a little bit when I do this, it won't make a significant difference. That dimension. So let's make a cut now. And now that my log has been cut to a 10-inch cant, it looks to me like I could probably get 3 2-inch pieces off there. There might be a little bit of wane on the edge of this, but I think I can get 3 2-inch pieces, and that'll still leave quite a bit up here, so I'm going to cut a board or two out of that and I can edge it later on. So I'll go build that up now on the board slicer. And right now what I'm going to do is just build up my combination of planks and boards. Now full disclosure, when I designed this, it might have been in the winter I suppose, and this was the right size for the dummy at the bottom. But it seems to be a little slack now, and I don't know whether the cables stretch a bit with the heat, because there's quite a bit of cable in there, and maybe with the increase in temperature. So I'll have to come up with a way to address that systematically. For now, I'm just put an extra little spacer in there, and then build it. So a 2-inch plank at the bottom, another 2-inch plank, another 2-inch plank, and there's room in there maybe for, I'll say, a couple-inch boards. If the top one's no good, I'll just burn it. Put that on there, wind it down.